Hey everyone, hope you're doing really well and welcome back to my channel. So a few days ago I did a poll on my Instagram, which if you're not already following, go follow, where I asked you guys what you think my next video should be on because I wanted to hear your opinions. And the general consensus was that you guys wanted to see a video of me going through abstract reasoning questions live on camera and sort of talking through my thinking process. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to switch out from the usual sit down and chat. I'm also going to be announcing a super exciting giveaway at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned for that and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe below. If you've never come across my channel before, welcome. My name's Julia and I've just finished my third year as a medical student at a university in London called King's College. Now, if you haven't seen my last video on abstract reasoning, then I'd recommend that you click off this video and go watch that one first, and it'll be linked in the description below because I'll be applying the theory and the content that I spoke about in the last video in this video, so make sure that you've checked that one out first. To start off with, I'm just going to do a super quick recap of the rules you should be aware of when you're looking for patterns in abstract reasoning. So at the end of my last video I put up a formula sheet, which I'll put up somewhere here on the screen now, that contains 7 components or 7 rules that you should look out for when you're looking for patterns in these questions. Now, if you're able to memorize that list of 7 components, it will give you a really strong foundation for what you want to look for when you start these questions. It's super important to be able to have like a mental list in your head that you can sort of go through and tick off as you're observing a set and you're trying to identify the patterns. So as a super quick recap, the first thing on the list is number, and that stands for number of shapes, number of size, number of edges, number of corners, basically anything that you can count in a set, you want to be able to examine that. Number 2 is position, so where exactly in the box are the shapes located. Number 3 is shading and colour, so what colour are they and how do they differ from box to box. Number 4 is types of shapes, so how do they relate to each other? Are they 2D or 3D, or do they have any concave or convex curves? Number 5 is size, and number 6 is symmetry, so how many lines of symmetry can you identify in each shape, and is there a trend in the number of lines of symmetry between each box? And finally, number 7 is orientation and rotation of shapes, so how they change from box to box, especially if we're talking about a sequence, and also how they change relative to each other within the box. Now, eventually, with enough practice questions, once you've memorized those 7 rules, then eventually when you look at a set, you'll no longer have to sort of go through each component individually, but your eyes will sort of be naturally trained to know what to look out for just through seeing the trends come up over and over again. And so as you'll probably see as I'm answering these questions, I won't necessarily be going through each component one by one, but I'll sort of be able to spot where there could be a pattern and just start off there. Anyway, without further ado, let's just jump straight in and get this over and done with. Now, in front of me, I've got my laptop, I've got a piece of paper, and I've got a pen. So I'm just going to attempt these questions on my laptop, so sorry if I'm not looking at the camera, and I'm just going to talk through what my thinking process is. So what I've done is I've opened up Medify, which is an online software with thousands and thousands of practice UCAT questions and mock tests and super useful videos. And that's the program that I'm going to be using today to practice from. Just as a full disclaimer, I'm not being paid to promote them in any way, but Medify was probably the most useful resource that I used when I sat my UCAT exam. And the reason being is that it's got such a huge bank of questions, and I've said in literally every single video that the key to doing well in the UCAT exam is practice. But without any further ado, you can see that I tried to do a few abstract reasoning questions before I started this video. The last time I sat my UCAT exam was in 2016, so that was 4 years ago, and so I really don't know how this is gonna go. Right, so let's just jump straight in with abstract reasoning. Okay, so the first question that's come up is a type 4 question in which you're given 2 sets, so set A and set B, and you have to basically work out what the pattern is in set A and set B, and then you're given a bunch of questions here on the right hand side, and you basically have to determine which one fits into either set A or set B depending on what they're asking for. So just right off the bat, what I can see is that both of the sets are very similar. They've each got one large shape in the middle and loads of arrows dotted around the large shape. Just naturally, I'm inclined to sort of look at the arrows because I've noticed that some of them are double-headed and some of them are pointing in different directions. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to count the number of arrowheads in set A and set B. So I'm going to try and find the simplest box first. So in set A, I think this would be the simplest box, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 arrowheads, and they are conveniently placed next to 4 sort of corners of the shape. But that could also be 4 sides. So let's see if that rule applies to the other boxes. So here next to that box, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrowheads, and this is also a 5-sided shape. So far so good, we've got a pattern. I'm just going to go through and double check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, also size, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, also a same shape, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 4. Okay, perfect. So that's set A. If I've got the time, probably not in an exam, but maybe while I'm practicing, I would probably write down on my piece of paper, so set A, and then so number of sides equals arrowheads. So now set B. So again, I've tried to locate the simplest shape, which I would probably say is this one here. The number of arrowheads here is 3, and this is a 4-sided shape. So a potential pattern could be that the number of arrowheads is 1 less than the number of sides of the shape. So let's just go through and confirm. So here in this triangle, we've got 1, 2, and 3 sides. Yep, 1, 2, 3, and a 4-sided shape. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it all checks off. So we know that set A, the pattern is that the number of arrowheads is equal to the number of sides of the shape, and in set B, number of arrowheads is 1 less than the number of sides of the shape that's in the box. Now, it's super important to remember that sometimes in these sets you actually have more than one pattern at a time, and so I'm just looking now, and I think the next thing that would possibly come into my mind is colour, but I think that because you have all 3 colours in each set, I don't think that there would be a pattern. Because, for instance, if there were only 2 colours, so let's say grey and white, then I'd be inclined to double check if the number of arrowheads or the number of sides corresponds to an even or odd number. But I think right now that would be too complicated because there's 3 colours, so my gut is telling me that the only rule here is the arrowheads. And so I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions now. So which of the following test shapes belongs to set A, which we said the rule for that was that the number of arrowheads was equal to the number of sides. So let's see this option here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this could be an option. Now I'm just going to double check and see if any of the other answers could also be an answer, because that means that there is in fact a second pattern and that we could have got this wrong. So really quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is definitely not a hexagon. 1, 2, and a circle is always a 1-sided shape, and 1, 2, 3, and you've only got 2 arrowheads here. So this gives me hope because it means that we've got the pattern right. So I'm going to go ahead and press next. Here we're looking for a shape that belongs to set B. We established that set B is the number of arrowheads is 1 less than the number of sides of the shape. So here we've got a triangle and we've got 5 arrowheads, which is wrong. We've got 1, 2, 3 and a 4-sided shape. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the second option. Click next. Which one belongs to set A, which is the equal number of arrowheads and shapes. So not this one, not this one, 1, 2, 3, not this one, and this one, because as we said, a circle is a 1-sided shape. Next, a set B, so 1 less than the number of sides. So not this one, definitely not this one. This is the option that we're going to go with. Set A again, which would be not the top option. 1, 2, 3, 4, not this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's the last option. So once you've done a question on Medify, you can either carry on and choose another question from their different options, or you can go ahead and mark the test. And I think for this one, I really want to know if we got the answer right, so I'm going to go ahead and mark. We got it all correct, so we're going to move on and try the next question. So back to abstract reasoning. Okay, so the second question that we've been given is a type 1 question, and here again, it's a set A, set B scenario, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the simplest box in each set and work from there. So with set A, I would say the simplest boxes are either this square one or the ones with 2 sets of parallel lines. Now coincidentally, both of these simplest boxes and this one all have 2 sets of parallel lines. In general, when you see this shape here, so 2 lines that are parallel, it should immediately have bells ringing in your head, because that usually has something to do with parallel shapes. So in set A, could this be a pattern? So 2 sets of parallel lines, yes, 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 here and here. Rectangle, yes, here and here, yes, and here. Yeah, so set A, the pattern is 2 sets of parallel lines. I'm just going to write it down just because so that I don't forget. With set B, Again, this would be the simplest box, which is one set of parallel lines. I'm just going to double check that it works out in all the other boxes. So yes. Okay, yes. So set A is 2 parallel lines, set B is 1 set of parallel lines. So this one here actually contains 3 sets of parallel lines, and so therefore I think the answer would be neither. So next here we've got 1 set, so this would be set B. Here we've got 2 sets, so set A. Here we've got 1 set. You need to be super careful with these questions because they're gonna purposefully pick shapes that will probably have hidden parallel lines that you wouldn't have noticed unless you properly focus. So I think this would be set B. Oh, okay, so I've got 1 set of parallel lines here, another set here, and I don't think I see a 3rd set. So I'm gonna go with set A. And again, we're just gonna go ahead and mark the test. Fingers crossed. Hey, got them all right. Okay, next question. Okay, so here we've been given a sequence, so a type 2 question. Without even doing anything, obviously I can see that the number of shapes is increasing by 1 each time. That's pretty straightforward. So here it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that the next figure in the series will have to have 5 shapes. Automatically, we've crossed out this one, crossed out this one. Okay, and both of these have 5 shapes in them, so it's either number 3 or number 4. Okay, so now out of these 2 options, what you can do is try and work backwards. So basically see how these 2 shapes differ and use that to try and identify the second pattern. So in this case, the obvious difference is that the white shapes will either have 4 sides or 5 sides, which tells me that the number of sides is something that I should try and examine. I'm just gonna try and count the number of sides and see how that increases between each box. So here we've got 1, here we've got 4, 9, 16. Okay, so the difference between this box and this box is +3. Difference between this box and this box is +5. Difference between this box and this box is +7. Okay, I think we found a pattern. So the number of sides increases by 2. So basically the next odd number along after 7 is 9. So you want the total number of sides in the box to be 9 plus 16, which in this case is 25. So here you've got 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 25. So we're going to go with option 4. Now I hope that's the right answer. I hope I didn't just mess this up. Mark test. Oh, correct. I just want to go and see what the written explanation was for this one. Okay, so it's actually really interesting that we read this answer because the theory here is that the total number of sides in each frame increases as square numbers. Now, when I was working this out, I didn't see that pattern, and by some miracle, the conclusion that I came to, that the number of sides increases by 2 each time, worked. And so I was lucky here, but always try and think outside the box. Perhaps in the future, if you come across a similar question and you don't see that the patterns are increasing by a specific number, then think about square numbers, because that completely skipped my mind. On to the next one. Okay, so we've got another sequence question here. So my first thought is to look at the arrow and how that changes from box to box. So as we can see, the arrow is rotating 90 degrees clockwise each time. And so in the next box, you want the arrow to be facing upwards. So straight away, we've eliminated the top answer and the bottom answer, and we're trying to figure out if it's number 2 or number 3. The second thing I can see is that the positioning of the triangle and the circle is also shifting. Usually in abstract reasoning questions, the way they describe the trends is that the shapes are moving individually. And so I guess it's a bit rare that they will both be sort of shifting together, if that makes sense. Sometimes it does, but so let's take each shape one by one. So let's take the triangle to start with. So the triangle goes from lower left to upper left to lower left to upper left. Okay, so we want the triangle to be in lower left, which is conveniently in both of these answers. Classic. So now let's look at the circle. The circle, okay, so the circle moves from upper left to lower right to upper left to lower right. So it will be in upper left. So I'm going to go with this answer here. So let's see if that was correct. Mark test. Okay, yeah, we've got it correct. Okay, last few and then we'll call it a day. Okay, there's another sequence question. I mentioned this in my last video that you're going to get questions with sort of familiar shapes, and so in this case the familiar shape is a smiley face, and so sometimes you want to be inclined to, you know, look at the expressions of these shapes and think if that has anything to do with anything. But remember, as I said, that in abstract reasoning you want to see the shapes just as figures. So in the same way, for example, you can come across questions that contain letters and words. You never want to see them as letters or words, and you never want to even read the words in the first place because that would be a complete distraction. You just want to look at them as shapes, so pretend that they're not even linked together. In this case here, the first thing I'm going to do is count the number of shapes in each box because I think that's just the easiest thing to do. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, also 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not seeing a trend in the number of shapes. So the next thing I want to do is count the number of sides of all the little shapes within the circle. So to start off with, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm just going to write 15 in the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8, 9. Fab. We found a pattern. So the number of collected sides of all of the little shapes within the big circle that make up this smiley face decreases by 2 each time. And I just had to double check that it's not another square number question. So we want to find an option that will contain 7 sides altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another thing to note is that a love heart is counted as having 2 sides. So you've got the 1 side here and 2 sides here. So I've lost track now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8. We said we're looking for 7. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, found it. Is this the right answer? Oh, I didn't even bother to look for a second pattern, but thankfully it's correct. Okay, next question. I'm kind of nervous that I'm going to end up getting something tragically wrong. But here we've got a question where you have to figure out the link between this box here and this box here, and apply it to this box here to find out what the relationship is, basically. The first thing that has sort of come to my attention is that the shapes here are identical to the shapes here. The position, the way you describe it, is that all 4 shapes have moved by 2 positions clockwise. So if you follow this shape, it went 1, 2, and it's now here. Pentagon went 1, 2, and it's now there. Heart went 1, 2, and it's now there. The second thing I can notice is that the shapes have somehow been inverted. So the heart here is the most obvious, whereby it's turned 90 degrees anti-clockwise. The pentagon, though, has done a full 180. So perhaps each shape has a different attribute attached to it. So, okay, forget that for a second. I just want to make sure that the options here, that we can cross at least one out. So we've said that all the shapes in the box move by 2 spaces clockwise. Heptagon needs to be in the top right. So we can eliminate option number 3. It's out of options 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so my next thought process is to basically try and work backwards. So what I mean by that is I'm going to look at the answers and I'm going to see what's common in all of them. So what must be correct? So in this case, the grey triangle has rotated or reflected by 180 degrees. So perhaps colour is something that, oh yeah. So perhaps colour is something that we should now consider. So if I put grey equals 180 degrees, the white heart rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise, so white equals 90, black 90 degrees clockwise, in which case I think we might have a pattern finally. Let's see if there's an answer that gives us that solution. So we've said white is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So if we take this baseline here, 90 degrees anti-clockwise, so we want this edge to be flat. Okay, so that leaves us with either option 1 or 4. Black, we said, is 90 degrees clockwise. So let's take this shape here because that will be easier. 90 degrees clockwise, so it's rotated that way. So now we cross out number 1, which leaves us with number 4. I really, really, really hope that that's correct. Fingers crossed. Yes! We made it. We made it. Okay, and just to double check what the official explanation is, the shapes swap places with the shape that is diagonally across them. Okay, so similar but different. And the black shape rotates 90, the grey shape 180, and the white shape 270. Okay, so yeah, got there in the end, just about. I think I'm gonna do a few more questions and then maybe call it a day. So the next one that's come up is a simple looking one. First thing I want to do is count the number of, let's start with sides. Although I've just noticed that both set A and set B have identical shapes, so they've both got an arrow, they've both got a crescent, and so perhaps number of sides or even corners here doesn't really make a difference. Next thing in number is lines of symmetry, so we could try that. So one thing I've noticed in all of the shapes in set A is that they each have one line of symmetry that is horizontal. So if you were to fold the shapes in half from sort of top to bottom like that, that's where you get the line of symmetry. Whereas I'm sort of noticing in set B that the line of symmetry is vertical, so you'd have to fold it in half left to right. That is what I've decided is the pattern in set A and set B. So if we look at this shape here on the right, the line of symmetry is diagonal, which means in this case it's neither. So move on to the next question. Here the line of symmetry is vertical, which we said is set B. Here in this shape I don't see a line of symmetry at all, so I'm going to go with neither. Here, oh, you've got both, so I'm going to go with neither again. And that's another thing, if you find a shape that will fit both set A and set B, the safest option is to go with neither. And finally, this is a vertical line of symmetry, so set B. Okay, mark test. Perfect. Okay, I think I'm going to do one last question because I've still got a giveaway to announce and I don't want this video to get too long. So let's see what this is. Okay, we've got another sequence question. We've got 2 arrows in each box. This arrow here I can sort of notice is shifting, let's say 45 degrees clockwise in each box. Starts off there, there. So the next box, it will be pointing downwards diagonally to the left. And yeah, it's always pointing towards the outside of the box. So this one. Oh, all right. Maybe that was it. Should we just double check what the other arrow is doing? The other arrow is always facing the inside of the box and it's also shifting 45 degrees anti-clockwise. It works out. Okay, that was super quick. Nice one. Next, let's just double check if it's correct. Yes, okay, so just to double check with the explanation, as you go along the sequence, one arrow moves 45 degrees clockwise and the second arrow moves 45 degrees anti-clockwise. Okay, cool. I think that was a really nice place to finish off, so I'm going to leave it there. Please let me know in the comment section below if you found this video useful. If you did find the video helpful, I would massively appreciate a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content coming soon. Also, let me know if you'd like me to make more of these videos for the other sections of the UCAT or any other video ideas that you have. And now for the most exciting part of the video, which is the giveaway, which I am super excited to announce. Now, just before I give you the details of the giveaway, I just want to quickly let you know of a new feature that Medify has added to their UCAT course. So if you don't know already, I've banged on about Medify in the past because Medify, I think, is the #1 resource that helped me out the most personally. Now, I just want to really quickly disclose again, I'm not being paid to say any of this, but as I've said before in my previous videos, Medify was the #1 resource that helped me to excel and improve the most in my revision. And genuinely, the #1 way to see yourself improve is to just practice doing questions. And now they are launching a new sort of extension to their course. What they're adding now is over 3,100 step-by-step video explanations for all of their mock tests. And these are bite-sized videos with clear, direct voiceovers with step-by-step worked explanations for how to get to the correct answer. On top of that, you get over 180 in-depth animated videos for their UCAT tutorials. So if you're like me and you're more of a visual learner, then this could be the perfect solution for you instead of just having to read. So if the questions weren't enough, then this is just a massive bonus. If that sounds interesting, then I'll leave the links in the description below. And now for the giveaway part. Now, I've rambled on about Medify time and time again, and they have very kindly given me not 1 but 2 free UCAT Medify season passes, which are valid until October, and they include everything that I've just spoken about. So all the questions, all the videos, all the mocks, everything that you could possibly need for the UCAT. I'll be putting all the details on how to enter in the description box below, so make sure you check it out. Best of luck, and honestly, if you're not excited yet, you should be. Best of luck if you're revising for the UCAT at the moment. I know it's such an awful time of year, and good luck if you're entering the giveaway as well. The winner will be announced very soon. I don't know if you just heard the chicken in the background, but I think that's a sign for me to call it a day. So once again, best of luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye!